If at all, if I had taken CSE degree, I would have excelled, outstand among my peers. And at that point, I felt the need.
It's not about only writing a code. You have to understand why are you writing and how much to write, how much not to write. There is nothing like failure, because even I failed in multiple interviews, but those are all learnings itself.
Hi everyone, I'm Ishan Sharma, and today I am joined with two amazing software engineers, and we'll be learning about their journeys of going from 5 LPA salaries to 50 LPA salaries in less than 2 years. So Praneeth and Krishna, welcome to this video. How are you doing there? And please introduce yourself to the audience that is watching this video.
Hi Ishan, I'm really doing good. So to start with, my name is Praneeth and I'm a 2019 graduate. I have done my bachelor's in electrical and electronics. So I have done my bachelor's in Amrita School of Engineering, that is in Coimbatore. Currently I'm working in Zoom Cars. So as a software developer.
And
Thanks.
Krishna?
Hi Ishan, I am doing good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I pursued my bachelor's in biomedical engineering and right now working with Walmart as software engineer.
Wonderful. So let's go back and try to understand your journey in a little bit more depth.
Okay.
First of all, starting with Praneeth, how was your journey like? If you could give a brief summary of how you got started and where you are right now.
As I said, I have graduated from Amrita School of Engineering. So I have done my triple. So right after my graduation, I have worked as an physics TA in Fiji, and then later on I worked in HSBC and then Altair, and then currently I'm working in Zoom Cars. So I have almost 4 years of experience.
And Krishna, what was your journey of working at Walmart?
Yeah, as I mentioned, like I graduated from non-tech background, so I had to start first enroll in a tech role. So I started in my journey with data science in a data analytics domain. Then I worked there for around more than 1 year. And I started upskilling, and later on I ended up at Walmart.
Great. Let's try to go deeper into both of your journeys, right?
Okay.
First of all, starting with Praneeth, what was your experience of working in Fiji as a physics TA to then working at HSBC as a software engineer? Walk me through that whole process and journey that you had.
Right after my 12th, I was very much interested in physics. I was trying to pursue BSc in physics. That was my idea. But then it did not happen. So that's why I chose triple. Again, with the same reasoning that triple involves a lot of magnetism and electricity. So maybe physics. That's why I have taken triple. And right after that as well, I was very much interested in physics. So in fact, I applied for JEE exam. So it's for pursuing MSc in physics. And that's when I wanted to try some physics job. So that's when I joined Fiji as a physics TA. So in the initial phase, I was really enjoying teaching and all. But at some point, like after 3 or 4 months, I felt it little repetitive. So that's when I tried to explore some options. And one option that I explored was programming and web development. So yeah, like I've self-studied. And then I finally made it to HSBC. Yeah, I have made it to HSBC, but since I was self-taught, I was taking more time in accomplishing my tasks, something of that sort. Like I faced it because it was a career switch, but yeah, I managed it.
What problem did you face exactly as you are talking about it?
I have self-studied like basic programming languages, and then when I entered HSBC, they were expecting me to work directly on some REST endpoints and all of that stuff. So I was not completely aware of the frameworks. Like I knew the basics, but I was not completely aware of the framework. So I had to reverse engineer a lot. So for example, say they have given me a task to develop some REST endpoints or something of that sort. So I had to look at the already existing endpoints. There were so many unknowns, for example, so many annotations. So I had to reverse engineer each and every time. So like basically there were so many unknowns to me. Mm-hmm. I had to Google search a lot. Like it was taking so much time basically.
It was inefficient.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Like I was understanding the whole process. It's just that the development time was taking very longer. Yeah, it's not being so productive, right?
Understood. And Krishna, what was your journey of going from a biomedical engineering to then working in a DS role? What was that like about? Both of you are having very unconventional paths, right?
Yeah.
You came from non-CS roles and now you're working as software engineer. So how did you do it exactly?
As you're mentioning, biomedical engineering, it was not by choice because there was no other choice for me. And coming to entering into DS role, it started in the last semester of my graduation. So I was just exploring the courses which would make my entry point into IT or maybe tech. At that time, it was a boom. Like everyone were telling about data science, machine learning, data science. Like whomever you pick, they'd be telling something related.
Hottest job in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so that's what they were telling. So in that, Chalti Ganga mein haath dhilo. So I just started exploring on data science, and I found out a course where they were teaching little basic on data analytics and data science, and I started my journey that way. I worked in a company as an internship, then it got into full time. So yeah, that's
understood. Krishna, that is your journey. We'll get back into that as well. But going back to your journey, Praneeth, how did you tackle the problems that you faced at HSBC, and how did you get to where you are today, working as a software engineer at Zoom Cars, and you already worked at Altair as well? So what was that journey like for you?
So as I mentioned, the problems, the primary problem was, I was lacking the structured learning. As you know, I was reverse engineering things. I was Googling stuff. I would find some Stack Overflow answers, and then I would just keep them there. I mean, I was understanding it though. It's just that the process is little hectic, I would say. It's more unstructured. It's more like reverse engineering and not hitting the fundamentals of it. So that is a problem I faced. I mean, it was working fine for some time. Like, I managed it. It's just that I had to put a lot of efforts. At that point, I felt the need of unstructured learning. I mean, initially I thought that there are many resources out there in internet. Why should I take some course of something of that sort? So I self-learned. If at all, if I had taken CSE degree, I would have excelled, outstand among my peers. I mean, that's the thought I have got. Like, even though I knew few basics, I had this fear that I was missing out few concepts, something of that sort. At that time, one of my closest friends, he's from CSE background. So he has suggested me one course that is from Scalar. So like, I went through it, like I researched a lot, and I also went through few reviews. At first, I was in this doubt that should I join, something of that sort. But later on, when I went through reviews and when I actually asked, as I said, I have one close friend, I have also seen his journey. So that is what he has suggested, and then I have taken the Scalar course.
What made you believe in buying the course, and what were your expectations from it?
At first, I also felt insecure. I had to pay 2.5 lakhs or whatever the fees is. So, the first thing is, I have already seen the journey of my friend. He was one of my closest friends. I knew he wouldn't lie. So I have already seen his journey. Second thing is, even I have done my own research. Like, I went through reviews, and I have in fact personally texted some of the Scalar alumni. In that process, I got convinced that this would definitely help me out.
So it was the peer reviews that actually helped you make the decision to go for it.
Yes, exactly.
Understood. Krishna, you were in a data science role, and then you went on to work as a software engineer at Walmart. What was your journey like, and what roadblocks did you face in that experience, and how did you tackle those?
Yeah, as Praneeth was mentioning, like, the learning wasn't structured, I would say, because of maybe the degree I hold in bachelor's, or maybe some other factors, but the learning was never structured. So it was always like doing the reverse engineering part. So even I was feeling that we need to have entire understanding on things what are important, on the fundamental level at least, things what are important, rather than jumping into the high level things without having the basic knowledge. So that is the reason even I was looking out for the courses. So then in that research and I found Scalar was good, and the content was really good.
What made you trust the Scalar program, and how did you decide what will you actually do after it? What was your expectations from it?
Yes, as I was telling, in the research, I found different platforms across in this domain, that in development, whatever the domain is. See, there is a difference between writing a code and writing a quality code. See, that makes a differentiating factor between the so-called big tech companies and the other tech companies. See, that kind of quality there should be coming from people who have actually made it happen. Whoever is guiding you in the entire process, they should be in a place to guide you. What I meant to say is, they should have already achieved it. So what I have seen in the Scalar is, the instructors or people who are associated with Scalar already achieved that. So they are well deserved to do that. And coming to the quality, the curriculum is very well structured to teach you entire software engineering. See, it's not about only writing a code. You have to understand why are you writing and how much to write, how much not to write. So that's where I got convinced, like, yeah, this is a platform, and I enrolled into that.
Wonderful. So those were the journeys that both of you had. Now let's talk about your interview experiences when you went for placement at multiple companies. So Praneeth, talking about your experience, you got to ace interviews at Swiggy, at Uber, and then at Altair as well. So tell me a bit about that experience that you had. Was it always the successes, or were there also some failures along with it? And what were the learnings that you had throughout that journey?
Yeah, obviously it's not a straight success. There were a few failures I have faced in my journey. And then after that, I was able to, crack those tech interviews. The failures, by failures, I mean rejections by the company. Yeah, it's because I got rejected by some interviews because I was not doing problem solving well. And in some interviews, I was not doing LLD well. So, in Scalar, they were offering personal one-to-one mentorship. So over there, whatever I have faced, I used to exactly share the same thing to my mentor. So my mentor was from Microsoft. So he used to analyze everything, like whatever I have shared, he used to write it down, everything. On the same point, he used to take mock interviews of mine. So that way it has helped me a lot. So after mock interviews, he used to give us such a detailed feedback, I would say. I mean, I really appreciate that part. Like such a very detailed feedback he used to give. So for example, he has taken, at one point, I was not able to go through LLD rounds, machine coding rounds. At that point, when I told the same thing to my mentor, so he has taken like 5 to 6 mocks of that LLD round. And then not just took, after that he has went through the whole video. Like we have recorded that mock interview session. He has went through the whole video and he has exactly pointed that at this time you should have changed your approach. So such kind of detailed reviews, detailed feedback I have got. That way it has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. So basically it was the mentor support, the mock interviews and the feedback that you got that helped you grow and become better at problem solving essentially.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Krishna, talk about your interview experience. How did you go through all of the rounds and what was your experience like?
Yes, it was more in line with whatever the upskilling that was happening. So that is one big advantage. And coming to mentor session, even I had good mentor session. I personally think even there is nothing like failure because even I failed in multiple interviews, but those are all learnings itself. So I think every step is a failure even when you do any kind of problem. So that is also a failure, but we don't consider it as a failure because no one labeled it as. But when you fail in interview, it is labeled as a failure, but it's not a failure. It's also a learning. So that's how I proceeded with that. That was a mindset when I started the journey, and even till now, that's the same mindset. When I was giving interviews, right, even I got rejected in few design rounds because I was not well versed or not much prepared. So my mentor also took many mock interviews on that, and I was able to cope up based on the previous feedback and the interviews we repeat.
That is a very crucial point you mentioned, that there is no failure as such, right? It's either you win or you learn and then you get back at it. That's a very important mindset to be in. So that was your interview experience, right? Tell me a bit about the differences that you noticed between the 3 types of learning methods, right? First of all, we have the old school learning method of the 4-year CS degree. Then you have your own self-learning method that you went into and you got your first job in the tech role. And then you went on to take the Scalar course and have that mentor feedback and mock interviews and all. So what was the difference between all of them? And did you ever feel that you lagged behind when you were not in the traditional CS or IT degrees?
That's actually a pretty nice question because what we see in old school or regular college 4-year curriculum, we are actually lagging behind the industry or market requirement. Even after completing 4 years of bachelor full-time, having a good percentage, you're still not ready to crack big tech interviews, sometimes not in the first round. So I think there is a lot gap. So that is the reason you have to step out and step ahead and look out for industry-led platforms. I mean, that personally, I also found Scalar one such industry-led platform which is more in line with the market requirement, not the academic kind of curriculum. So that's where I learned all the stuff which are required, like whatever it is, it may be DSA, low-level design, high-level design, like entire software engineering.
It's not just about curriculum. On the same lines I'm going, you also get one-to-one mentorship. So it's more like you can treat your mentor as your brother. It's more like you already have one brother. Just imagine you have one brother working in Microsoft. How he would give you guidance. The same kind of guidance you would also get it here. And it adds a lot of value in your learning process or in your upskilling process. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, mentoring sessions has helped me a lot. You know, you can exactly articulate or explain the exact problems that you're facing and he would give you a solution, just like how your elder brother would give you.
And what I also found when the learning is not structured, right? So let's suppose you are watching a video or you're trying to learn a concept. If the concept is very new, then you'd have lot hurdles in actually understanding the concept, and you may end up in midway itself before even understanding the entire concept because you have a lot of doubts and those doubts are not clarified at that point. Because if they're not clarified at that point, your flow would be disturbed. And I think most of the journeys, right, end up here only because their doubts aren't clarified right on time. So this is one of the drawbacks if you are learning all by your own. When Scalar, there are teaching assistants. Like if I request any doubt, or maybe DSA problem or any problem which is happening in my upskilling journey, so I would get it clarified in very less time, so that my learning momentum doesn't get disturbed and it goes along. So that's very important. And I would like to add one more line. See, coding, personally, I feel it's not tough, but most of the people give up too early. They give up because of lack of support. So that is the reason people make it difficult. It's actually not, but they make it difficult because of the wrong patterns of learning. If you follow the right pattern of learning, right, I think you can do anything.
Also, on top of all of this, there's also a powerful community, I would say. So by community, there are many people out there just like you who are trying to upskill, and you get to talk with them. So there is one scalar community. So over there are many people just like you. Whenever you face some problem, the other person, there's a high probability that he might also be facing the same problem. So you would get to share their ideas, share their views. And that is one thing that I really like. It's not just about, in the total community, it's not just about software related channels or tech related channels. There are other channels as well. There is one channel called as cryptocurrency. You would also get to explore a lot. Not just this, it's a very generic and very powerful community, I would say.
So you learn to grow as an overall developer, as a problem solver in general.
Yes.
Yeah, as adding to that, there's not only that, I have actually recently come across some financial kind of classes, community classes happening there. They are giving some financial knowledge on how do you manage your investment or how do you manage your portfolio. So I think it's more on as said, community adds a lot of value.
That comes as an add-on. Like that's not your primary objective. But I mean, after joining that community only, I came to know about cryptocurrency, and I was also into shorting cryptocurrency. I have never imagined that I would have done that, but yeah.
It's always said that you are the average of 5 or
Yeah, definitely. So basically you being a part of something bigger and having that that support of, okay, there are 10 more people who are with you in the same batch learning something. So that definitely adds a lot of value.
I'd like to add one more point, the difference of the conventional learning. See, this kind of learning patterns, right, keeps your journey consistent. So consistency is the key when you're aiming for high things. So that's what, it keeps you consistent and you'll not give up so easily. In fact, if you're even having demotivated, or in that case, you'd get motivated because the people around you would be doing, and that keeps you in the loop. So this is one major advantage when you follow a structured curriculum on live-oriented curriculum rather than the recorded kind of thing. So when you actually go in that live kind of flow, so it keeps you in the loop and it hits you back, okay, today we have something to do. See, these are all the basic things which are actually going unnoticed, but these are the things which would enhance your learning from like a lot percentage.
So just to add, on the same lines. So recently Scalar has come up with this idea called as Scalarverse. So the idea is they have their own service apartment and then you can stay there and you can be among with your peers.
Makes sense. Now there's a huge fear looming in the minds of people who are getting in the career, right, as a software engineer, and that is hiring freezes, tech layoffs. There's huge companies laying off thousands and thousands of engineers. So what do you think about this, number one, and what should be the mindset of someone who is getting into this job market, trying to find a job? What should they think? What should they prioritize? And share your thoughts on this.
Yes, I think the recession is now a little hot topic, or maybe the trending thing. There are a lot of people got laid off. So I think you have to also understand that these companies are publicly mentioning that they are laying off. It's not that you are getting fired. So there is a difference between getting fired and laid off. So it is not a performance driven. That's what I wanted to make clear. So it's not performance driven. It's performance driven of the company, not the employee. Like you have written a efficient code, and you have done a beautiful architecture or the design thing, and you have done everything right about the product. Now that the product is not the market fit, which they assume to be, the organization assumed to be, so that's not your fault. You did your part and that didn't do in the business. So that's the reason you're getting laid off. It's not because you have wrote some bad quality code or the product is not performing. So you have to also thinking in that perspective. And it's like, I see many people posting about their layoffs of all the stuff. The big tech companies are laying off. Some people are making fun of it. But thing is, you're getting laid off from big tech companies. You know that big tech itself adds a lot of value to get your resume shortlisted. And you'd be getting a lot more opportunities because of that. And I think everyone knows it that they also provide some severance or something. So there are a lot of things which other side of the coin which are not told to you.
So I just wanted to add one point. So the mindset is very simple. So it's just that the economy, debt is increasing. So companies are trying to cut down their costs, and that's why these layoffs were happening. So one point here is, can they completely remove all the tech people? It doesn't happen because they cannot drive the business. So they would try to cut the cost by eliminating the ones who are not actively involved in projects. So it's just that you had to go to the creamy part of that, and you can easily sustain this recession.
to become the best of the
Exactly.
best
It's
engineers,
just that
and you will get opportunities.
not everyone are getting laid off. It's just that you just have to go to the creamy layer.
Definitely.
So adding to that, this recession or layoff is more on the business standpoint, not on the employee standpoint. You have been hired to make good in the product, but the product itself is taking a little economic hit. So that is the reason you are being laid off. Recession happened before as well. It's not the first time we are facing this. So it happened before. We had a good growth after that. So I think this is a economic cycle, part of economic cycle.
Exactly.
And it's gonna stabilize in very less time. And once this stabilization happens, you never know, you'll be hired in the same product and same engineering team.
Makes sense. It was lovely interacting with both of you. Just to end, what is your advice to people who are still watching this video till the very end? What would you like to tell to them, and what should they know if they want to have a better career as a software engineer?
I usually get this question like, what exactly is the difference between a tool developer and a software developer? I would like to brief it in a way that a tool itself is a software. That software development is like you are developing a software. That doesn't mean you cannot develop another software. But when you're working with a tool, you'd be very limited to that tool and that tool understanding only. So I would suggest, if you are really interested in upskilling and growing high in the career, you would learn software development. If I wanted to make it more clear, then software development is like you have developed a software. Like, let's suppose X software, you're developing that software. That doesn't mean that you cannot develop a Y software. You cannot go into the market. So you have to understand how softwares are developed rather than how to use them. So that's the difference between these two. So if you
more like technician and actual engineering. So in engineering, you create products, and then technician is like you understand one of its product and
how to use them.
How do you maintain that? Something of that.
The curriculum actually helped me to understand that as well, like what exactly is building softwares, like from the scratch. What exactly are the important parameters you should be considering when you're building softwares at this scale, at higher scale and increasing scale. That is more needed for anyone who is starting software engineering or mid of software engineering. They need to have the idea end-to-end how softwares are made.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us here and sharing your insights and your journeys. Guys, if you want to get in touch with either Praneeth or Krishna, there'll be a link of a Google form in the description that you can check, and through that you can enter all of your queries and you can get in touch with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned a lot. Go execute and have a fun time doing so.